What would you do if an unexpected encounter changed your life forever? Sarah never imagined that returning home from a normal day at work, her life would change forever. One day, while parking his car, he noticed a man sleeping on the street near his house. She was sure he hadn't been there long, yet she couldn't look away. At first, she decided to ignore it, but the image continued to haunt her. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on exciting stories like this one. Stay with us until the end because what will happen you can't even imagine. The next day, as she was leaving her house to go to work, she saw that the man was still there. He thought that when he returned in the evening, he would not find him, since the neighborhood was respectable and he had never seen homeless people in the area. But when she parked near her home, she was shocked to see it was still there. It was cold, and Sarah couldn't imagine how cold he must have been, sleeping on the streets with his clothes in tatters. He quickly entered the house and ran out with a blanket. "Hi, I'm Sarah," she said as she approached the man. Once she was close, she handed him some food and sat down on the sidewalk. "I've seen you here since yesterday, right?" "Yes," the man replied. "I just lost my job and my home and have no choice but to live on the streets," he confessed. His name was Giovanni. He told Sarah how his company had collapsed due to misappropriation of funds by greedy employees, forcing it into bankruptcy. He said he had to lay off more than 100 employees in addition to losing his home, his car, and everything he owned. Sarah felt sorry for him and asked him why he didn't go to some relative's house, but he replied that he didn't have any. They talked for a while before Sarah decided that John could not continue to live like that. She herself had no great wealth. She was an orphan and had never known the love or warmth of a family. Yet he possessed an extremely gentle soul. That evening, she prepared plenty of food for dinner, shared it with John, and did the same for the rest of the week. In those days, the two shared not only food but also pieces of each other's lives. At this point, we would like to know your opinion. Have you ever helped someone in difficulty? Tell us in the comments. Day after day, in the warmth of the kitchen, their words wove invisible threads of intimacy, binding them ever tighter. As the weeks passed, Sarah and Giovanni's hearts danced to the unexpected rhythm of love. Sarah didn't seem to care that John was homeless. He thought he was smart and knew it was only a matter of time before he got back up and got back on his feet. After all, she was no stranger to rising from the ashes. Left without parents at an early age, Sarah had to learn to fend for herself from an early age. She didn't live in luxury, but she had done reasonably well, and she was confident that Giovanni could recover with the proper support. The strong feeling they had for each other after a few months led them to organize their wedding. Unfortunately, Sarah's friends and extended family were not at all happy with her choice. When she shared the news of her new love interest and plans to marry a former homeless man, many chose not to show up for her wedding. "Yes, we're in love and we'll work things out. No situation is permanent," she tried to explain to someone. The days passed and the long-awaited moment arrived, their wedding. Sarah arrived looking gorgeous in her wedding dress. She looked even more like a princess. She was excited to start a new life with Giovanni. She loved him deeply. Sarah had invited friends and family to their big day, but sadly not many showed up. Those who went were there to see Sarah make what they thought was the worst decision of her life. She has a good job, a decent car, and lives in a nice neighborhood. Why would she marry a homeless guy? Wondered one friend. "I don't get it," said another. She worked hard to build a good life only to be dragged back into poverty by a homeless person. added another friend. There was a lot of murmuring in the small room, and although Sarah couldn't hear what her friends were saying, she could still sense that they were laughing at her. But she didn't care. She simply wanted to live forever with the person she loved and had loved more than anyone else. Suddenly, the groom arrived and everyone was left breathless. They expected to see a man dressed in tatters. Giovanni, on the other hand, arrived in a luxury limousine wearing one of the most expensive tuxedos available in the city. But how could he afford all this? Wasn't he homeless? Sarah was shocked too. She hadn't expected this. Was it really John? Once John arrived in front of the bride, she tried to speak. But he interrupted her, asking her to be patient. He would explain everything after they had exchanged rings. As the groom and bride were reading their vows to each other, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if she was living a dream. Any attempt to get an explanation was met with a "Honey, be patient. I'll explain shortly." If you are still with us, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. After promising to be there for each other, through thick and thin, Giovanni took the microphone. "I understand that all this must be confusing. But my love, you will know the truth in a few minutes." He then turned to the crowd. "I have never met anyone as kind, caring, and selfless as Sarah. Honestly, I don't know what to say. I'm both grateful and humbled by the fact that he loved me even when I had nothing and was sleeping on the street," he said solemnly. "I've never actually been homeless," Giovanni continued. "I fell in love with Sarah long before she met me, but I decided to test her to see if she could love me beyond my wealth or status." The crowd gasped and Sarah huddled together. "What? You're not homeless?" she stammered in confusion. "No, honey. I come from a very rich family, and remember that company I told you went bankrupt? Actually, it's still going strong. It's very successful," Giovanni explained. "Do you realize what it takes to fall in love and agree to marry a homeless man?" asked Giovanni, turning back to the guests. "I will give the world to this woman because she has proven that true and genuine love exists," he finally said, holding Sarah in a tight embrace full of emotions. That evening, at the reception, Sarah expected to find a simple party, but she found herself in something that seemed to have come out of a fairy tale. There were her favorite flowers decorating the room, elaborate culinary display of food, and many friends and relatives of Giovanni, honored and proud to know Sarah in person. She had never seen anything so fabulous, and the most incredible part was that it was all for her. That turned out to be the happiest day of his life. Days later, they moved into their new home, a meticulously maintained, luxurious villa. Now, the young girl knew for sure, and so did all of her friends and acquaintances, both those who had laughed at her on her wedding day and those who had not even deigned to show up. That kindness and selfless love can truly transform lives in incredible and unexpected ways. This story teaches us that sometimes appearances are deceiving and that true love can overcome any obstacle. And you, do you believe in true and unconditional love? We believe that love conquers all. Thanks for being with us. See you in the next video.